Hey Gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. I'm Cory.
And I'm Matt, and each week this podcast will serve as a catalyst for discussion on all sorts of topics that grind our gears, excite us, or just need an extra bit of conversation.
And on this week's episode, we've got a lot of that. So we will be covering a little bit of car news from FCA, a little F-150, and a little FMOCO Bronco action.
Nice.
All on this week's episode. So yeah, let's just jump right into it.
Sounds
Matt,
great.
You said you had a bone to pick soon as I got here. What is your bone?
I do. I have a bit of a rant this week.
Okay.
It's a rant concerning some news from FCA. Well, we're recording this on Monday,
July 6th.
July 6th, exactly almost dead on 7 days from the release of the Bronco.
Yes.
Finally.
It is getting ever so close, whether or not you believe it.
There's a part of me that is still very reserved.
We'll get into that later.
Last week, FCA released, and if you pay attention, good grief, it was probably 4 or 5 months ago when they put the Hellcat badge on the fender of the Durango.
Yes.
And if you know cars, you knew what that was. You knew what was coming, right? The Grand Cherokee there's already a Trackhawk version with the 707 horsepower Hellcat engine in it. Here's my bone to pick.
All right.
I am so flippin' tired of hearing 707 horsepower, 650 foot-pounds of torque, Hellcat engine, in whatever. Currently, on Dodge's website, there are 5 variants of vehicles that you can get a Hellcat engine in. That does not include the up-and-coming new Challenger, whatever it's supposed to be called, that's getting an even bigger Hellcat engine in it.
Slightly tweaked.
It does not include the new Durango, which is coming out this fall. And then you go to Jeep's website, and you've got the Trackhawk there. There's always somebody wanting to put a Hellcat in something else. I think there's been a couple of people do it in the JLs, the JKs, and even a Gladiator or two.
Someone needs to slam one in a Pacifica.
That would be pretty rowdy.
That thing would be a beast.
Oh my goodness.
Minivan respect on this channel.
That's exactly right. It's almost as bad as the LS engine as far as
Hellcat, the things.
How many different ways can we use this same engine, right? And don't get me wrong, it's incredible. It's a factory output 700 plus horsepower engine, and that's awesome. So
this is somebody milking this engine and all the R&D that went into designing and perfecting this engine, and they are stretching that buck as much as they can, putting it in all the things, stretching it out as long as they can, because the engine's been around a while, the Durango's been around a while, and the fact that the two are just now finally meeting.
The Trackhawk's like 2 or 3 years old.
I know.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah, the Durango's just a longer, uglier version of the Cherokee. But the fact still remains, there's still a business. They're trying to milk this engine for all it's worth.
I think somebody's getting paid royalties for each Hellcat they sell. That may be what it is. And they just keep pushing it, keep pushing it.
Well, sales have kind of slowed on this one. Let's put in something else now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done 37 different variants of the Challenger. Let's try something different.
So what is interesting about the Durango version is they squeezed three more horsepower out of it, and are now touting it as the world's most powerful production SUV. Because now it does have 3 more horsepower than its almost identical sibling that weighs less because it is smaller in the Grand Cherokee.
So did you hear what the 0 to 60 was on the Grand Cherokee?
No.
3.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is for the new Durango?
I've got it pulled up in front of me. Let me see if I can find it. No, what is it?
3.5 seconds.
Yep, so
3 horsepower gets you nothing.
It gets you a third row. A really cramped, really tiny third row.
It's still only a 7-passenger.
I thought it was a 6, a 2 plus 2 plus 2.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. You're right because you can't. I don't. Well,
you might be able to get.
You might.
It does come with a bench in the
maybe
middle
it's
as
2
an
and a
option.
half in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, it's no Tahoe or Suburban. Or
no, it's
like
definitely
that,
not
so.
that. Definitely not that.
But yes, somebody over at Fiat Chrysler Automotive has definitely realized not only Hellcat all the things, but stagger the approach so that people are still interested and there's still some interest in the engine. How this serves them long term will be an interesting one to see from a business perspective, because now they've practically put it in all the things that they could or should.
Everything but the Pacifica.
And officially a Wrangler Gladiator.
Right.
And that one would be an interesting one to see.
Yeah, but
we already know that it's going to be in the new Ram 1500.
Right.
That's badged as the TRX.
I didn't even bring that one up.
Or the T-Rex.
Yeah.
A little bit better than a Raptor. But, so we've got that coming up. But the Ram 1500 was pretty much the last vehicle that it made sense in that they hadn't already.
Sure. Yeah, they've crammed a 6.4 liter Hemi in it. Why not a 6.2 with a blower on the top?
Yeah. And so very much looking forward to learning more about I'm going to just call it the T-Rex from now on.
The T-Rex.
When that officially is unveiled. Is it later this month or next month? I can't remember exactly when it is. There's been so much car news over the past,
it's been incredible.
2 weeks. Yeah. It feels like we're just being bombarded.
The potential of a Ranger Raptor in the U.S.
Yeah.
There's 77 new motors for the Ranger coming up across the world.
Yeah.
Bronco news, F-150 news. It's all over the place.
You've got new vehicles from GM finally hitting empty dealer lots, and Tahoes and Suburbans and Yukons and Escalades.
Baby Stingers.
Yeah. Which I don't know how I feel about the Kia K5, because
it's,
as I said on my blog post on our website, gtgaragetalk.com, the K5 name means something to a lot of people my age and older that are off-road enthusiasts, and I can't believe General Motors let the K5 name slip out of their trademark fingers.
Right.
Which only leads me to believe that they have nothing up their sleeves with that name, or to play on the heritage of the old K5. Because we all know, as we've lamented a lot on this podcast, the current iteration of the Blazer is a far cry from the 70s and 80s K5 Blazer.
It's not a Blazer.
It's
not a Blazer.
It's a mall Blazer.
It's not a Blazer just as much as the Mach-E is not a Mustang.
Exactly. Doesn't make either one of those bad vehicles. They just don't live up to their namesake.
Agreed.
So, speaking of Mach-E, going down the Ford rabbit hole, a lot of Ford news has happened since we've last recorded an episode, and is yet to happen in the coming weeks. And we will have coverage over all of that here at Garage Talk. But one thing that I really wanted to dive into and discuss with you, Matt, because you and I really have not discussed the F-150 since it was unveiled and announced. And this is the 2021 F-150. It is the best-selling vehicle in
ever.
And the best-selling full-size truck in the U.S. for 40-plus years running. It is an immensely popular and an immensely important vehicle for Ford, because if they get it wrong, like I said, it's the best-selling vehicle that they have, they're going to be in a world of hurt. They've got a new competitor in the Ram 1500 really nipping at their heels that they can't give up any ground to. Ram is stealing share from both GM and Ford,
right,
as they are just going leaps and bounds above where they were.
Oh, they've got some beautiful trucks coming out. The F-150 is very similar to the Hellcat engine in that you get to a point where you have that cult following of people who are always going to buy Hellcats, but how do you best it? How do you make it better? How do you make it more? Same thing with the F-150. At some point, we're reaching, I mean, self-driving,
Yep.
loaded out, leathered everything.
So for me, when the 2015, which is the model, the generation that is currently out, in 2015, when that generation first broke, it was a radical redesign for Ford. And I remember looking at it, and it took me a good year before the styling grew on me. Like, I just looked at it, and I couldn't see anything but like a pug nose on it. I don't know. It did not capture my attention, my interest. And again, yes, I am a General Motors, Chevy especially, fanboy, but I just could not get used to the styling. It took me forever to get used to it, but that was a radical redesign for Ford.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it apparently paid off really well for them. I came around on the design for it. I think it's really clean and timeless. It's not how I would have designed the 2015 coming off of the 2014 body style. But,
Right.
So now we get to the 2021, and Ford has gone much milder in their redesign. It is to non-car guys, non-people that are just entrenched in all things automotive, you'd be hard-pressed to even know just at a quick glance that it's different. From the side, it looks exactly the same. Same a little notch in the driver window, going down to the mirror, same overall profile. You know, they've tweaked the headlights, tail lights, this, that, and the other, but essentially it's the same vehicle, even though every single body panel is new.
Yeah.
And what Ford really did this year is they invested in technology and the futurist view of the automobile. So much like Ford is doing with the Mustang Mach-E and investing in the future of electrification with their most popular nameplate, they're treading into the same waters with the new 2021 F-150.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Oodles and gobs of features and refinement. And
oh, yeah.
It's beautiful.
So the first thing that they really touted a lot was a feature that I loved when they announced it, but the more I've thought about it, Ford's execution of it just makes me laugh.
Okay.
And that is in the center console between the two driver seats. It's an option on the more upscale versions of the truck. So you had to have the center console, not the bench seat.
Right.
You can flip forward half of the center console armrest and make this giant workspace.
Yeah.
This flat workspace, which is awesome. Like, when I had my Silverado, I used it as a mobile office. Trucks are huge enough that they can be a mobile office. And for a lot of people, they are going from work site to work site or from location to location, whatever they're doing. And so this is an absolutely wonderful idea that I praise Ford for, that it looks great. The problem I have with it, as I'm watching the animated video on our blog post on gtgaragetalk.com, is the fact that they are sticking with the center console shifter that they had to figure out, okay, how do we make this thing disappear in order to make this giant workspace?
Right.
When Chevy has got the answer that all trucks should stick with in the column shifter. I don't like Ram's little dial shifter.
I don't care for the dial. Yeah.
It's like I'm changing the volume.
Right.
And what's even funnier is it's Chevy GMC are not the only ones with column shifters on their trucks. The lower model Fords actually have a column shifter. So the fact that Ford already has the technology, already has a column shifter, they just feel it's a more premium, or this is what their customers, I don't know, it just seems like an unnecessary gimmick of you had to have a fold down shifter knob in order to make this work.
Make a workstation.
Yeah. And so I'm just like knowing all the acronyms and things I throw around for Ford hate, found on road dead, fix or repair daily. When's the first one of those little retractable handles going to break and be stuck in the down position?
Well, and I'm curious
you can't shift into drive.
I'm curious too to see how like the functionality of that shifter. Does it just pivot on that same point? And if so, it's not cable driven anymore.
Yeah,
it's purely going to be electronic.
Yeah,
so
in which case again, it's not even necessary at that point.
It's not necessary. So
it's
why?
Not, yeah, it's over engineering is what that is. And like I said, I truly love the flat workstation idea, but the over engineering of we're going to make this handle go down and it's going to look so cool. No. And this is usually an over engineering gripe of yours, so it's funny that I'm bringing it up. But yes, it's over engineering at its finest.
I will admit, being as much of a Ford fan as I am, it seemed very much like a hat trick kind of a thing. Because I thought I'm on the same wavelength as you are. Like, okay, how soon before that shifter sticks?
Yep.
And now I can't put my truck in gear because the stupid button won't work anymore, or I can't get it up out of the hole, or I spilled chocolate milk in that hole, right? And it's all sticky and nasty down in there, and I hit the button and my handle goes, and now I've got nasty, sticky chocolate milk all over the handle.
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting to see how that one lives out in reality and how quickly they rethink it. Like I said, Ford has a column shifter in their arsenal that they are putting on their base trim trucks that have a bench seat. So why not make it more simple? Like, again, over engineering, you've got a more simple design that's cheaper, easier to manufacture, and would only become more cheap if you applied it to all your vehicles. Instead, you went this route.
We like the term less expensive. That makes it
more
seem...
cheap. Yes.
Yeah. Not more cheap, but just less expensive.
Yes.
With that said, would you drive a Ford for 6 months, 12 months with one of these? If Ford knocked on your door and said, here's the keys, we want you to test it out and tell me how it works.
As an automotive journalist, absolutely I would. And
okay.
I would expand my list of gripes ever further. No, you've mentioned it before on our YouTube channel. It is our goal to be automotive journalists full time and to really go in depth and give you, our listeners, our not only our thoughts and opinions, but our honest take on what we think of the automotive industry, what we think will work or break or flop or fail. And so, yes, I would absolutely do that for the sake of the channel.
Agreed. Very few... we know because we're in the industry. We watch a lot of YouTube. Right. We listen to a lot of podcasts about automotive stuff. It seems like, to me, and I'd love to hear your input on this, it seems like to me a lot of car reviewers do what they can to dance around the issues sometimes and not really just call them out for what they are. Yeah. I would love to see Top Gear / Grand Tour. Yeah. Jeremy Clarkson never pulls a punch.
No, he doesn't.
Not one time.
And that was a luxury afforded to them because they were the world's #1 automotive program, I believe is how they built themselves. And so they could get away with it because manufacturers wanted to get their car on that show.
Yeah.
I can see from a business point of view where people coming up, such as ourselves, would be a little more apt to pull a punch here or there to ensure that they continue getting vehicles to test.
Yeah, but on the other side of that coin,
tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I'm not an auto manufacturer, so I don't know for sure. But if I were an auto manufacturer, I would want to know the truth about this vehicle that we've just spent hundreds of millions of dollars designing and building, and because if it's something that we can fix before next year's production model, by all means.
So Ferrari is notorious for monitoring their online reviews and pulling credentials from people. So I don't see a Ferrari review anytime in our near future, but I would love it. And Ferrari, I love your vehicles.
Yeah.
But so there are, yes, some car reviewers that will tell the basic overview of the story, and hold back. But I think that's the interesting dynamic of you and I, is that you and I don't exactly have the same thoughts of what cars should be. And
Oh, sure.
I love technology. Typically, I love over-engineering.
Yeah.
But I guess because Ford's the one doing it in this case, that's the reason why I was the first one coming out throwing punches at it. And I've got another example of F-150 over-engineering, if you're ready for it.
Bring it on.
So I just scrolled down the page a little bit further to the graphic and animation of their fold-flat seats.
Mm-hmm.
It's near 180-degree flatness of the front seats, because like the seat bottom actually rises to meet the reclined back of the seat, and it looks like an absolutely wonderful feature as someone who has slept in a few vehicles for various reasons, campouts, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
I can see the merit of such a feature. Again, something else to break. As I start getting older and have had vehicles for longer and longer, I'm like, okay, what's going to be the first thing to break here?
Sure.
What's going to be the first thing to break there? And it's usually all the gimmicky stuff that manufacturers throw in, and I don't believe there's any exception here. I will say, shout out to another car YouTuber, Chevy Dude, on his Instagram page shared a graphic or a media image of the fold flat seats with the joke, you know, for you to rest when you're waiting on the tow truck to show up.
Oh.
So, thank
Already
you, Chevy
swinging.
Dude. I told you, I came out swinging on this one. I wrote this glowing, wonderful, unbiased review on our website.
It was a beautiful review, yes.
Well, thank you. And like I said, I got all the facts out there. And now I've had some time to digest and really think about some of these features, and I'm not afraid to throw a little shade.
All right,
if
so
the case calls for it.
I'm going to bring up another one of the features that I have voiced my opinion about these on FCA's rigs and GM especially now on their rigs, and even Ford to a point, and that is the tailgates. I can say, and this is probably a little biased to an extent, but the features involved with this new tailgate seem like they are much more useful than a tailgate that folds 17 different ways.
Yes. So GMC's Multi-Pro tailgate, again, over-engineering at its finest.
Yeah.
I have heard from people who have used it, granted they're GM fanboys as well, that they don't believe they would ever go back to non-multi-pro tailgates.
Right.
I could give it or take it at this point. I've had a truck. I know the problems that they're trying to overcome with the multi-pro tailgate.
Sure.
Being able to reach inside your bed easier, be able to climb in it easier and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm 33 years old. Like, climbing in and out's not a problem for me. Reaching in and out's not a problem for me. It will eventually become, Lord willing, a problem that it's not as easy as it once was.
Right.
But I would agree with you on the Ford F-150 tailgate that what they put in there was tastefully done. So where they over-engineered inside the truck, they really focused on what was important outside the truck and didn't go crazy, like you said, barn door tailgate or multi-pro tailgate or all this stuff.
Very, very well executed. And they kept the step too, which, the step makes it nice.
I believe, I have not investigated it fully, but it looks like in this picture, and I believe I had overheard one of the press events they were talking about where these C-clamps are holding this piece of wood onto the tailgate for him to saw. I believe there are actually little cutouts in there that the clamps go into in the top of the tailgate. So a little pocket, more or less.
So I wonder, if you order the tailgate, do you get the $15 clamps with it, or do you have to pay for those separate?
You got to pay for those separate.
Oh, okay. All right. Also included in that same picture, and the one right above it too, the little onboard generator display port thing. Oh my goodness! Why hasn't somebody else done that?
So Chevy dipped their toe in the water, and their marketing department blew it out of the water, trying to make it the grandest thing ever. That they had a power outlet in the bed of the new trucks that just came out. But Ford really took it up a notch, and they're able to power an entire work site.
Yeah, there's 4 cords plugged into that same port.
Yes, and it is an onboard generator, and I can't remember all the stats that they gave on exactly what it could power and how much power it had, but they were touting it could power an entire campsite, worksite, tailgate, and still have some power to spare. And for those in the RV world, for those, like I said, going from worksite to worksite, campsite, or tailgates, this truly is a game changer.
Oh, yeah.
When they mentioned early on all the customer feedback they got in this press conference, and one of the things was customers having to lug around an onboard generator. I was like, how are they going to replace a generator? Well, they did it.
Yeah.
And they made it simple and easy and
out of the way.
Yeah.
That was the big thing I was worried about, was exactly that. How do you get rid of this, foot deep, 2 foot wide, 2 foot tall box of a generator that runs a work site?
So basically making your truck the generator at this point, and negating the need for wasting tons of valuable bed space. Because let's face it, most trucks nowadays are crew cab with the short bed.
Right.
And when you need space, a crew cab truck does not have a lot of space back in the back. And,
no, it doesn't.
So taking up even more of that with a generator is only a problem.
Yeah.
Not only do they have they have 4 plugs in here, and they've got a 240 plug.
It's incredible.
Yeah, so you can take hot tubs, refrigerators, what all uses that? Washer, dryer, all kinds of stuff in the back of your rig, and just take a mobile everything with you.
And what about the 6 engine options for this truck now too? Holy smokes!
So the one that really piqued my interest was the one that they were touting the most. So everyone knows the power and the might of Ford's EcoBoost, and they've really gone whole hog on the EcoBoost wagon. EcoBoost all the things. It's got tons of power, tons of torque from a V6 that gets great efficiency. So when they stepped it up a notch, and like I said, leaning into the future of the automotive world, and made what they have dubbed the Power Boost engine a full hybrid truck. Now, this is not the first hybrid full-size truck we've ever seen. Chevy had a hybrid years back. They even hybridified. That was our word.
Hybridification. That's right.
Yeah, they even hybridified an Escalade, a Tahoe. I believe those were the only 2 that got hybridified back in the day. But it was mild at best, because that was like the 07 body style.
Right.
But this is a full-fledged hybrid truck that they haven't released power numbers yet. They haven't released EPA fuel economy yet, but it is supposed to be the most efficient, most powerful vehicle in its class.
I'm curious to see how they have incorporated the electric motor part of this hybridification, because Dodge's hybridification,
you
and I
Ram?
say that, yes, I'm sorry, Ram's hybridification. Either way, I say it with air quotes, because it was like an overpowered alternator that was supposed to help drive things, and it didn't improve economy, and you really couldn't tell a difference on power.
Yeah, all it really did was help with the start-stop technology, which most people agree is terrible technology. But you got to get that extra mile per gallon in there somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, so before we dive into our last bit of conversation and discussion around FOMOCO, let's have a word from our sponsors. And we're back. So, here we are, Matt alluded to earlier. It is July 6, 2020, 8:03 p.m. as we are recording this episode. We are less than a week now from knowing all the details that Ford wants us to know.
I gotta start a countdown on my phone.
About the brand new, finally brought back, finally unveiled Ford Bronco. And they've been hinting at and teasing at and showing us this and showing us that.
Like every other flipping day.
To the point where this weekend I actually checked quite a bit. I was going back and forth and looking on their Instagram, waiting for another post, waiting for another post, waiting for... And they took the holiday off. And I don't blame them. But
then a new video release at like 6:30 this morning.
I woke up this morning and already saw news posted from FOMOCO on the Bronco. I'm going to keep saying that. I like that. And just trying to play catch up when I got going this morning. And so we've shared a little bit. We'll continue to share throughout the weeks as we learn more and find out more, and they tease us with more. There's already a lot of spoiled information out there for us. There have been full-on pictures of the baby Bronco, as everyone has dubbed it, but Ford has officially come out and said it's going to be the Bronco Sport, which is basically a reskinned Ford Escape, which looks like the first gen Ford Escape. And
from like the early 2000s, that one?
Yeah, it's very boxy. It's very more or less rugged for the cute ute status that it has.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's definitely more handsome, I would say, than the current leaning of the Escape.
The current Escape has definitely leaned more towards the car versus the SUV.
Oh, definitely.
As far as style, as far as design
it's full
and
blown. It's full blown CUV at this point.
Yeah. When I first saw it, now I kind of like the styling of it because it reminds me of a Tesla. It's like if Tesla, it kind of has a little bit of Model Y design to it. So maybe they were trying to rip them off. Who knows? It's not a bad move, in my opinion. Tesla has become the most valuable automotive brand as of this past week. Which is insane because their volume is nowhere near the leader, which is Toyota, and we can get into that on a whole nother episode. But I believe the reason why they are the most powerful is because they are not just a car company. They are a technology company. They are an electronics company that makes cars. Because not only do they have the cars, they have the infrastructure throughout the nation of their supercharger network. They've got the solar panel. They've got the power wall.
They have a flippin' spaceship.
That's another one of Elon's companies. But yes, they've truly invested in what they see as the future of the automotive landscape, the future of transportation, and their infrastructure in their supercharger network is what has got them head and shoulders above everyone else that is trying to play catch up. And I know we're getting off on a tangent here, but just this past week I was having a conversation with someone who was thinking about going the Tesla route, but has also had Toyotas their entire life. So build quality is obviously something they've never really had to think about because Toyota's build quality is legendary. Tesla's build quality is questionable. You watch any YouTube video and they're at least going to acknowledge it at some point. Even Tesla fanboys will acknowledge, oh yeah, but it's not that big a deal. Tesla critics will go full bore on everything that was wrong, even though a lot of vehicles have build issues. and this coming from a GM fanboy. But my advice was take some time because the big boys are about to come to the party to play. Volkswagen Auto Group, one of the biggest manufacturers of automobiles in the world, has really doubled down on electrification, and to the point where they are beginning the steps of phasing out the Golf as we know it for the ID3, which is a Golf-based full electric vehicle. So
I think I just got sick.
that'll be a 20-plus year transition. But the fact that the big boys are diving in full bore as they are, their only downside when going up against Tesla is Tesla's supercharger network and the reputation that Tesla has in the electrification arena.
Right.
But when it comes to build quality, service reliability, service network, having dealerships where they need to be and in populous areas and people who can work on it, know how to work on it, and all that stuff, all the big boys have got Tesla beat. And so they are finally catching up to Tesla at their own game, and the playing field's going to be a little more level, and it'll be interesting to see how Tesla reacts and shifts. And Elon has always said that he would be happy just changing the trajectory of the automotive world.
Yeah.
Even if Tesla folds in 5-10 years from now, he will have accomplished his mission of changing the stalwarts of the industry to a more efficient, more futuristic form of propulsion. So that's my Tesla rant. I don't even know how I got there. But yes,
because you said the Escape looked like the Y.
Yeah, there you go.
See,
I led myself to that one.
Oh yeah.
But so yes, Baby Bronco Sport. We know that's coming out, and then we're gonna get a 2-door and a 4-door variant. We know that now.
Yep.
Confirmed officially from Bronco, and we know at least the 2-door, even though we know from leaks that the 4-door is going to get a full removable roof, removable doors. And if you look closely at some of the shots on the Bronco's Instagram page, you can actually see what I think is an interesting problem to what Wrangler guys have had to deal with. And that is, if you take the front doors off, the mirrors go with them.
Yeah.
It appears that the mirrors on the Bronco are actually attached just ahead of the A-pillar, kind of right behind the hood, on this long black arm. It'll be interesting to see fully in the flesh what that looks like.
Right.
But from what we have gleaned from the images that Ford has shared, that's what we have to look forward to. And I think it's an interesting way to fix a problem that is only a problem to a handful of people who actually take the doors off.
Right.
I don't even know what percentage of people take the doors off of the Jeep. I know if I had a Wrangler, the doors would be off most of the time. Yeah. That's just me.
My dad's got a 98 TJ, and when he bought the Jeep, it had full soft doors, tops and bottoms. The top halves would come off. But one of the first things that he did with that thing was put half doors on it.
Yeah.
And just that, I mean, there's no carpet in this Jeep. It's a soft top. I mean, it's a bare bones rig.
Your mom shared a video online of them driving with the top off at like 70 miles an hour, if it even got up that high. And she captioned it something about just having a nice conversation in the Jeep, and her hair is all over the place. Yeah. It was a great
She's
video.
half screaming into the phone trying to, That's hilarious. But just those half doors make a world of difference. Yeah. And they still add that little bit of
open air
protection kind of an element to it. So
that's an interesting thing, because when the JL was previewed to the Jeep community and the world, the 2-door version that they showed everybody had these awesome half doors with a hole through the middle of them. And the idea was that you could see the trail that you're on by looking across and peeking out through that hole. But it was a full-fledged, painted, body-colored body panel door, half door, for the rig, and everybody just kept waiting and waiting and waiting for Jeep to release those, and it finally got to a point where Jeep said, "Yeah, we're not going to make those." So I don't know if it was a safety thing or what. I don't see how it could be less safe than not having the door altogether, but obviously they ran into some issues. The community wants them.
Oh, yeah.
But something came up. Of course, there's always aftermarket. You can get tube doors, half doors.
All kinds of stuff.
There's no shortage of aftermarket parts for
So, I don't know if you noticed this, but because some of what's been released with the removable top and stuff like that for the Bronco, there's been some drawings and what is the word? Copyright paperwork filed for the design and the way it comes off and things like that. Very rough sketches, but they give the general idea of what this is and blah, blah, blah. Those have been released, and I was flipping back through a few of them yesterday or the day before, and I noticed just exactly what you were talking about, where it looks like the frame, the structure of the door for the Bronco stays on the Bronco and the skin comes off.
Yep. And it'll be really interesting to see is that an option? Is that the actual thing? Is that something to throw us off the scent? Because in this teaser image that they released today, the two-door doesn't have any doors on it at all. Like it's full see-through.
Yep.
And I like it. So we've got more information that'll be dropping probably every single day this week with Monday's full reveal. And on that note, we here at Garage Talk have you covered. We are preparing every day for our Fumoco Bronco reveal. We've got a lot of media coming your way around this reveal, so I guess we could go ahead and tell our listeners. I mean, by the time this releases to the world, it'll be Friday, just a few days before the event as it is anyway. So we will be doing a reaction video, Matt and myself, to the event itself. So you will see exactly how excited Matt gets for all the quirks and features of the new Bronco. You'll see me roll my eyes as a GM fanboy, I'm sure. We'll just... You'll get our true raw reaction
I'm planning for an open mind about the whole thing, but I will tell you that at this point, I don't even have to see the rest of it. I'm sold on it.
Yeah,
I know the motors that are supposed to be coming in it. I know there's going to be a 7-speed manual. I know it'll be 4-wheel drive. I know that the roof's going to come off. I know the doors are going to come off. I'm there.
Yeah.
Unless the sucker is like $400,000, I want one.
And you're okay with the independent front suspension?
I'm okay with the IFS.
Okay.
It's Ford did me wrong several years ago.
With the modular 5.4?
That we didn't have to go there, Cory. No, I think it was the. You just left and right tonight. Golly. I think it was the 15 Mustang when they revamped it. 15 or 16, somewhere in there. And the execs came to the design group and said, everything that we've told you to hold sacred about the Mustang, throw it out the window. And that included the solid rear axle.
Yeah.
And so Ford kind of did me wrong. That one hurt a little bit. I understood the move.
Yeah.
I get it. And Ford has always been an incredible riding pickup. So I know that, because this is based on the Ranger size and dimensions, and it will be a body on frame setup.
You're only sacrificing a little bit of
articulation and
So, and honestly, when was the last time either you or I actually went rock crawling?
Too long ago.
So
way too long ago.
plans to change that in the near future.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, yes, we will be doing a React video on our YouTube channel. So, that is one bit of content we will be bringing to you. We actually have a very close friend who is planning to put a deposit down that night, as Ford will be opening up online deposits as soon as the event is over.
Yeah.
So, we are going to be videoing and going at it, putting a deposit down with one of our close friends and keeping you updated throughout his entire Bronco journey. He is head over heels for Broncos, to the point where he almost spent a few grand on a rusted out classic. I can't remember exactly what year it was, 67, I don't know. But like, he wants a Bronco, and so this is it. This is where he's going. And so we will be putting a deposit down on a Bronco and keeping you updated on everything we learn through him and through the process that way, giving you a front row shot of what it looks like to be on the bleeding edge of car ordering. And then we will be doing just like we did for the F-150 reveal. We'll be writing a blog post, getting that out on our website, gtgaragetalk.com. And then we will be recording next week's episode all about the Bronco and giving you our thoughts and opinions on it after we've had a little bit of time to digest it from our quote-unquote live reaction video. So this next week is going to be Bronco Mania here on Garage Talk, and it kind of already has been. I've been posting a lot to our social media pages because it is one of the biggest things to happen in the automotive world this year. It is the most anticipated vehicle this year, and it'll be really interesting to see. As a business person, I cannot wait for the Wrangler to have competition. It sort of has competition in the Tacoma. It sort of has competition in a few other body-on-frame SUVs and trucks, but it really doesn't have any direct competition like this Bronco is going to bring to it. And so it'll be really interesting to see what that does to options, what it does to pricing, does to dealer incentives, what it does to inventory on dealer lots. I as a business person, I am very interested to see what this does to a mostly uncontested Jeep Wrangler.
Oh, yeah.
And what Jeep does to raise the bar.
Well, and that's exactly the point to me, and that's the part I think that excites me the most, is to see what's gonna happen in the next 6 months to 3 years coming out of this. Toyota's gonna have to step up their game if they want to compete. FCA is definitely gonna have to step up their game if they want to continue to compete.
Rumor has it, GM isn't just sitting by and watching all this happen.
Oh yeah, they are.
They are looking to resurrect the Jimmy name.
Oh my gracious!
All the legendary names and heritage that they have to go after. They dig up Jimmy, which at the time was GMC's version of the K5 Blazer. Blazer would have been the stronger name to go with, but they are really investing heavy on the GMC brand. We already know they are going to have a sub-brand of Hummer EV. So it's interesting to see how the General will react to this news, because you joke that they aren't doing anything. Insiders know that they are not sitting idly by and letting Ford steal all the thunder. They're working on something, much like they were behind the game with Camaro in the 60s. They're a little behind the game here, but let's face it, the Wranglers had many years uncontested. And again, going back to competition really sharpening everybody in the game, you look at the Mustang when the Camaro bowed out for a few years. Those were some of the sloppier, less exciting, less passionate Mustangs that we've gotten in recent history, because they were kind of setting their eyes on the Corvette, but not really, and it was really the super high-end versions that were going after they didn't have any true legit V8 rear-wheel drive competition. And so like I said, it'll be very interesting to see how existing competition responds to what Ford is bringing to the table here.
Definitely.
So, you got any more?
I had one more.
Okay.
And I actually did a motoring minute on the Ranger not too long ago. Mm-hmm. It does look like, and I'm crossing my fingers, it does look like
it only makes sense.
The
Business
U.S.
sense.
will get the Ranger Raptor, Lord willing, and possibly a V6 diesel.
Yeah. So, like I said, it only makes sense for the Ranger Raptor to come to the States. Now, you and I both know, and most of our listeners probably know, that the Ranger, as we have here in America, is an overseas pickup re-engineered for the American market. And that being said, it's got a lot more current history overseas than it does here. And that's why they got the Raptor version before we did. And the Raptor version is the all-out off-road Baja Racer version of the vehicle,
which begs for the 2.7 V6.
Right.
It just begs for it.
And I say it only makes business sense because, one, they've already established a market in the F-150 Raptor over here, and the Raptor brand, as we know it, is strong because of the F-150, so it only makes sense to downsize. And two, since the Bronco is based on the Ranger platform, and it's going to have a lot of the same technology, decrease your operating costs and spread it out over more vehicles.
Sure.
Just like we kicked this episode off with Hellcat all the things, off-road superpower all the things. So, yes. Yeah. I especially knowing that the rumors are out there and are picking up traction, I don't see it not happening. That's my take on it.
I've already... so I'm on... Oh, goodness, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5, 10 different Ford Bronco 2021 Facebook pages. You know, this one posts and that one posts. And this is on top of the Car and Drivers and TFLs and all those things that I follow on Facebook. But the Bronco Raptor won't be called a Raptor. It'll be called a Warthog, which beckons back to my favorite ever aircraft, which was also named the Warthog, the A-10. And some of the renderings that I've seen floating around make it look mean. Yeah. I mean, just flat out angry. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens.
And just as a teaser, on the way out the door of this episode, so Ford is redesigning the F-150 this year, which they usually take a year off on Raptor. So the F-150 Raptor is probably gone for 2021. Will probably show up for 2022. So we're losing a little bit there. We're gaining possibly a Ranger Raptor. We're gaining for sure the Bronco. So it's really interesting to see what all Ford's got up their sleeves for the off-road enthusiasts. But the bit of information that came out today, which I know is a few days old for you now, listening to this at least on Friday, is that the Bronco name is actually going to be a brand and a lifestyle. And Ford does not intend on it just being a 2-door, a 4-door, and a Bronco Sport. There's rumors of off-road parks around the nation that if you buy a certain trim level and above, you get access to these off-road parks, and there's going to be a lot of interesting things to come.
Actual off-road schools.
Yes. From
the video that was released today, which is fantastic.
So we've got all that to look forward to, and can't wait to share it with you, our listeners, our viewers, and to keep up to date with everything that changes in between episodes of the podcast coming out. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We are on all three. We're at gtgaragetalk.com. We're really most active on Facebook and Instagram, but hey, if we get some more Twitter followers, I'll go full bore on Twitter, but I gotta fish where the fish are, right? So we've got that Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at GT Garage Talk for all of that. Or you can go to our website, gtgaragetalk.com. You can see all our blog posts on different vehicles we've reviewed and shared information on, which, oh my goodness, it's like been drinking from a fire hose here lately. There are so many new vehicles being announced and released, and this web event, that web event. We are definitely behind, but we're trying to keep you as up to date as possible on all the latest car news and reviews. And the more you can help and support us on this channel, sharing our podcast, sharing our blog posts, the more you help us truly achieve our goal of doing this full time and keeping you super up to date on everything that we know in the automotive world. You know, Matt and I are both very passionate about all things automotive, and we want to share that with you. But until next time, bye.